Coming up this week, off-screen.
Ryan Reynolds is the Hitman's Bodyguard.
Al Gore brings us an inconvenient sequel.
Love blossoms with Everything.
Armie Hammer sits in on the final portrait.
There's time for a snooze with the napping princess.
Lambert Wilson takes us on an Odyssey.
And we meet the Untamed.
All those to come and more, off-screen.
This is OffScreen. OffScreen. With the latest film news and reviews, this is OffScreen, the on-screen radio show.
Welcome to Off-Screen, I'm Vancouver.
I am Kase Allen.
So, Mr. Allen, before we get to the news, before we get to the reviews, before we get to the box office top 5, you've had an adventure this week.
I'm going on an adventure. Oh, I've been on an adventure.
You've been on an adventure, Martin Freeman style.
Yes, I went to London town, to the Big Smoke.
And you got to be me for a day.
It was crazy. I shaved most of my beard. I had a little, wispy, pretentious Robert Downey Jr. apron mustache. It was good. I had coffees.
They do that a lot, yeah.
People were nice, which is not an experience I've had very often.
They're PR
in
people,
London.
Generally. It's just the done thing.
But just people in, Cafe Nero were really good.
Oh, that's good.
As well. It was the most enjoyable experience I've had in London in at least 7 or 8 years.
Well, I was at a funeral all day. That's obviously why you were filling in for me.
So the opposite experience.
I did enjoy, though. I was at this funeral and I was kind of coaching you by text, by WhatsApp the entire time. That was a lot of fun. It's like, okay, Warner Brothers is here. And I
was sending...
Look for the pure gems.
I was sending Van photos of, is this the place? And then sent a picture of a door and saying, no, it's next door.
You really did.
I didn't get too lost. It wasn't too bad.
By the way, the place that you did send me the picture of, if you hang out there, just camp there for about 25 minutes, there's a good chance you run into Sofia Boutella. Just FYI.
What was I doing? I should have just stayed there.
Yeah, but I just
which meant I could have met Joe Manganiello.
Quite possibly.
Most handsome man in the world.
I just say hello to her now when I see her. She doesn't know who I am, but I see her that often. I just say, oh yeah, every time I see her now. It's just a weird thing. Okay, so we've got some news.
Did you say Sofia Boutella or Sofia Vergara?
No, Boutella, not Vergara.
That's why I said Joe Manganiello.
Why would Sofia Vergara be hanging out in Soho?
I don't know.
I mean,
they are both great.
They are both great.
Sophias.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to run into Sofia Vergara.
I'd love to run into Joe Manganiello.
Well, say we each have our favourites. But but I ran into Russell T Davis on that street recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't say hello to him. So I'm just sort of thinking, I love and hate this man in equal measure.
So, I like Queer as Folk. Okay.
But the thing is, I mostly think of him for Doctor Who.
That time.
And I just think some of your stuff was good, some was terrible. Not sure which I'd acknowledge more.
See, now you love the same thing with Stephen Moffat.
Exactly, yes. Stephen Moffat, who broke my heart over the course of about 4 years. But, and I was a fan of Coupling. Anyway, okay, right, let's get to something relevant. And
let's talk about films.
They're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, as you would. This is probably the biggie of the week.
The biggie. This is going to be, isn't it?
Yeah. Daniel Craig was on Stephen Colbert Show.
He was,
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And
of which you
revealed to him, I'm a big fan. Yeah. I've literally just watched this episode about an hour ago.
Okay.
He revealed to him that, yes, in fact, he will be back as Bond.
Which is excellent.
That's good.
It was up in the air. I think I kind of expected he'd be back for this one.
Yeah, because there was loads of announcements about who they were looking at for director. They announced a release date, and I feel like you don't have that unless you've got the whole who's going to be Bond thing in place.
Well, he has said, hasn't he? He just was deciding whether or not he wanted to come back. It wasn't about negotiating in the press. It wasn't about salary or anything like that, because he gets paid handsomely for these things anyway, and there is really only so much money a person can have.
And he's not just doing Bond stuff, he's doing loads of... He's just in a film with Steven Soderbergh.
Well, that's next week.
I can't wait for Logan Lucky. But I'm down with that, and he also said in the same interview, this is probably going to be it. So I think five and done, that's it.
That's a good number. 5 is a good run. I mean, my favourite got 4, so... fair.
No. George Lazenby?
No. Pierce Brosnan, man, the lawnmower dude.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the lawnmower dude.
The star of the Ron Silver villained action review, actor-activist Ron Silver villained action thriller Livewire, which, if you've never seen it, is amazing. Oh man,
forgot about that.
An action movie where the weapon is spontaneous human combustion. And it's got boobs. Anyway.
What do you need?
What do you need for a 1994 85-minute action?
So, shall we talk about a film that has not got full boobs,
No?
There's some cleavage going on.
Is there some cleave?
There's some handsome fellows going on.
Fair,
Yeah.
okay. Which
So-
I've not seen. You have. So
This is crazy.
I know this is a change for us. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Allen. So you know the format: plot, clip, review. Okay, Hitman's Bodyguard. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so Hitman's Bodyguard, directed by Patrick Hughes.
Expendables 3.
Expendables 3 was the last thing he did. So it basically sets up this kind of like a buddy comedy dynamic between Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. Ryan Reynolds' character is Michael Bryce.
Yes, he is.
Yes, who, as he keeps saying throughout the entire film, was a AAA rated executive protection.
It's in the trailer, isn't it?
Yeah, which is essentially just like a really, really great bodyguard. Former CIA.
Oh, he's actually ex-spook. Okay.
He's an ex-spook, but then went out to do his own like protection agency because there was just more money in it.
Fair enough.
So this is kind of like how the film sets up. He's doing this. He's having a good time. He's got a partner who will come back into the film later on.
Okay.
Yep. And then things go a little bit awry. And then we're set in the present day where everything's kind of gone wrong for him, and now he's still doing the same thing, but he's lost that AAA rated score.
Has someone died on his watch?
Someone has died on his watch.
Okay, that's usually when they're protective detail. It's always in the line of fire style. Someone has died on their watch.
Yeah, and now his life has kind of gone down the pan a little bit.
Is he divorced?
He's not divorced, but he's not with the person anymore that he really wanted to be. He kind of blames her a little bit.
Does he wake up in the morning, do painkillers and scotch thing? Is he that character?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sleeping out of his car. That's who he is.
Of course.
Whilst all this is going on, there's something of a political coup happening with Gary Oldman's character. I've forgotten the name.
Is he like a warlord or a drug dealer or a mob boss or something?
Kind of all three, and a president rolled in. So he plays Vladislav Dukovic.
So he's a dictator.
He's like
a
dictator.
East European.
Yeah. Who is currently on trial in The Hague. And they are trying to get someone who can sort of like just testify against him.
Someone to roll over on him.
Someone to roll over on him.
So is this then Samuel L. Jackson, who is the hitman of the Hitman's Bodyguard title?
Exactly.
Okay.
And he plays Austin Kincaid. And
Kincaid. That's always a good name.
Which is a great name,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic name. And throughout a series of events, these two, Austin Kincaid and Michael Bryce, have to team up and get Kincaid to this trial. And they have about little over 24 hours to do so.
So it's an action comedy take on 16 blocks. So.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay,
Shall we run a clip?
We have a clip. This is the pair on a bus full of nuns.
State bellissimo, sorelle! Go with God. This man's killed over 150 people.
250, easy.
Oh, I love Sam
There we
Jackson.
are. This thing is about as much fun as you think it's going to be.
Excellent.
Just watching that trailer. It's a bit of nonsense. It takes some liberties with some plot holes, but you kind of forgive that for the chemistry that Ryan Reynolds and Sam Jackson have together.
This is the thing, because Samuel L. Jackson, action comedy, we kind of expect good things from him because Long Kiss Goodnight.
He's done this before.
51st State. He does
Exactly.
buddy things well.
Yeah, really well, especially with mismatched counterparts. And this is what they have. They actually do have quite a bit in common. Like,
They're kind of like they've encountered each other before and they
Yes.
faced off before or something like that, haven't
yes.
they?
And so it's nice that they have this history, but they both do like things as well as each other, which is kind of cool. Like, for other films like this, other kind of buddy comedies, sometimes it can be like the polar opposite, but it's nice to see someone to be like, "Oh, you were also really fantastic.
I see.
Like, you're an amazing shot."
So there's a begrudging respect.
There's a begrudging respect, yeah, that kind of builds throughout the entire film.
Okay, so Patrick Hughes, Expendables 3 director, we know he can basically handle action. He can bring some energy to it.
He's quite a safe pair of hands. There's at least 3 really solid, fun, enjoyable, energetic scenes.
I'm
in
looking
this.
forward to this.
There's a speedboat chase.
Oh, well, you get a speedboat chase in there. You've got me. You've got me. That's how Face Off won me.
My wife's dad always used to say that a film is so great if it's got a speedboat chase. And, like, if he would fall asleep during a film, he would wake up at the end and just be like, "Oh, yeah, my favourite part was the speedboat chase."
My rule is always snow ninjas with Uzis.
Snow Ninja, that's a great name for a film.
You get me with you get snow ninjas with Uzis in a movie, which I'm sure Andy Sidaris did at some point.
That'll be like the 13th.
The 13th
in the series.
So,
Gary Oldman he's as menacing as you think he's going to be.
Excellent.
He's chewing the scenery.
I was going to say, is he doing the Zorg kind of? Yeah,
definitely.
Right.
He's doing that. His accent is all over Europe.
Excellent.
Which is great. Elodie Young from Daredevil, Elektra. She is the love interest. She's an Interpol agent. She kind of ties the whole thing together.
Is she the ex-girlfriend?
She is the ex-girlfriend.
Okay, I see why Ryan Reynolds was so bummed now.
There we are.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
And then Salma Hayek.
Is his wife, isn't she?
Yes.
Is Sam Jackson's...
Yes. And essentially his motivation throughout the entire film.
Okay.
They don't actually have that many scenes together, but when they do, they work really well. And she's just a great presence herself. A lot of her scenes are just her with like some prison officers, or just like she doesn't seem to be that big of a part of the main story as much as she's just kind of like the motivation for Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Okay.
But she's really fun when she's on screen.
Is it long? Is it 100 minutes, 90 minutes? Where's this sort of sit on the spectrum?
Oh, it's actually about 2 hours. But
it's actually about 2 hours?
But it doesn't feel like that because there's enough energy in the fight scenes and all the big action set pieces.
Okay.
And nothing necessarily feels boring. And because there's a few kind of like flashbacks that flesh out
I didn't know that.
Story as well.
Is it the foul-mouthed, R-rated, energetic explosion fest that I want it so badly to be?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit more kind of schlocky than you think. Some of the CGI might be a bit ropey, but if anything, it owes its credentials to something like 24 Hours, maybe.
Oh, okay. So if I'm going to the public show on Friday to see this because I was so bummed at missing out on seeing. I was so looking forward to it.
I apologise.
And I'm so annoyed. I missed the press shows for this and Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
But
it's a great sort of like 80s throwback homage.
You think I'll love
to
it?
Those buddy films.
Okay. So I'm in for a good time.
I think you will enjoy it.
Excellent. Okay, in which case, let's plug the podcast. Don't forget, extended edition of this show. Download the podcast edition. Go on iTunes, go on Deezer, go on TuneIn, go on... What else? We've got Acast. Because you get digital bling there. Extended edition, we've got Moment of Cage. I'm quite a fan of this week's one, incidentally. You get all the reviews we couldn't fit in the radio edit, which this week is Napping Princess and The Untamed, which I think we both have things to say. And
yeah, we've got some opinions.
We've got some opinions. And we have to put them there because we can bleep there. And that's always more fun. So don't forget as well, competitions. Go on to onscreenfilm.com, go in the competition section, and you can win, at the moment, Blu-rays for The Transfiguration, which is an amazing vampire movie. It's a vampire in Brooklyn without Eddie Murphy, but sadly also without Charlie
We've said
Murphy.
this for like the last 3 weeks.
We have, but you know what? It's so relevant. I think we should just keep plugging it.
With the latest film news and reviews. This is Offscreen, the on-screen radio show.
And we're back. So, Mr. Allen, one we've actually we've both seen this one, so we can actually sort of split the load this term. So
share the load.
Share the load. The heavy lifting of everything.
Although it's not that heavy.
It's not that heavy.
It's about as fluffy as you can get.
It is.
It's a big bowl of candy floss.
It's so fluffy it should come in a jar and be sold in the American food aisle.
Yeah.
But okay, so this stars. Please tell me her name because is it Amandla?
It's Rue from Hunger Games.
Rue from Hunger Games.
I've forgotten her name right now, but give me a second.
We're a real Mickey Mouse operation. I know Nick Robinson is the male lead. Nick Robinson, of course, was the older brother of the two kids in Jurassic World. She, whose name you're going to tell me in a moment, and I've forgotten, was Rue in the Hunger Games, who grew up because we've forgotten it's been 5 years since the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And she's now she's a young woman now. And it's alarming when you realise that it's the same person. You're like, wow.
Amandla Stenberg.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. It's based on quite a popular novel. I believe your wife is currently reading it, isn't she?
Yeah, she's pretty much done with it.
Okay. The idea is you've got a teenage girl. She's on the cusp of turning 18. She has grown up confined to her house in a sterile environment. Very nice, lavish, 5-star, all floor-to-ceiling window, sterile environment. She suffers from, it's called SCIDS, SCIDS. And it's a sort of a lack of an immune system. So she is the slightest exposure to anything bacterial or anything like that gives her tremendous illness and could potentially kill her. So she lives entirely within this bubble. I'm going to get to that term in a minute. She forms a sort of text-based relationship with the new boy next door, played by Nick Robinson. And before you can say fault in our stars, a relationship is blooming that will change both their lives forever. Here's a clip.
You listen to me. You stay on your side of the room. He stay on his. I already told him the same thing.
What are you talking about?
You stay on your side. He stays on his. He's here.
Who's here?
Ollie. Not if you understand. I'm worried you're losing your motor skills.
Why?
Because I'm terrible at saying no. Because you deserve a little something.
Right, that is not Penelope Cruz playing her nurse. That is, in fact...
Ana de la Reguera.
She's very good as well.
Yeah.
Although, if you check Wikipedia, apparently that's Wayne Brady. So... You can't explain that?
Yeah, I feel like there was another draft of this film, and then when that cast list was announced, that just got straight put onto Wikipedia.
Didn't it also star Jenny Garth and Scott Baio as the kids' parents?
And Hayley Williams was Ollie's sister.
Oh my God.
Whom this is played by Taylor Hickson.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously Wikipedia has lied to us. Imagine that. But, okay, so Fault in Our Stars meets Bubble Boy. That's how I'm pitching it.
Oh, I forgot about Bubble Boy.
Forgot about Bubble Boy?
Yeah.
Got young Jake Gyllenhaal there before we knew what he could give us.
Danny Trejo's in that as well?
I think so. I think everyone was in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a film, so Danny Trejo's probably.
That's probably true. Well, once you've done Rick and Morty, the world's your oyster. Anyway, so you saw this ahead of me. I think you saw this a few hours before me. You had issues. Please, let's discuss them for the next couple of minutes. What did you think of the movie as a whole?
I ended up enjoying it sort of after the fact.
Okay,
the more I thought about it.
Okay, so the more it sat with you.
Afterwards, because you go in and about 25 minutes in, you feel like you're going to get diabetes because it's so
sugary
and saccharine. But if you just kind of just let yourself go into that world and just kind of be fine with it, just think it's about a teenage girl and she's never been in this situation before. So this is like, if this crazy far-fetched situation were to happen, probably play out something like this. I had a couple of issues with the mum.
Yes, I think there's a plot machination that we can't really discuss as well regarding that. You sit and think, I think you've played this all wrong, and
but like even before that comes into play, just some things earlier on. The chemistry between the two leads, sometimes it really works.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I know.
Sometimes it's a bit wooden.
Sometimes it's best described as two people.
Just two people who have never met. But in a way, that's kind of what it's supposed to be, because a lot of their interactions are via text messages.
There is that, because she's only ever talked to three people in her life.
Yeah, and I think this is the cleverest part of the film, is how they put those two together, because they have these interactions. So they don't meet at one point, but they're still talking through like SMS
and I think there's instant messenger and at one point paper sheets put to the window,
that kind of thing. But then in the film, the scenes that show them together, like it's not actually, they're not actually
they
together,
depict it as if
they depict it as if
I
they are
liked
together.
how that was done. I liked how they have them having a text conversation, but it's two actors physically sat talking to each other.
Because there's a whole thing about her. She does like an online architecture class, so she will build cafes and other buildings,
which are then sort of staged as sets, aren't they?
In which she will talk to Ollie. So I really enjoyed that.
I did. I thought that was quite a clever touch.
That was a clever thing.
I think the style of it, I think, is what lifted up more than anything. I think the central performances, particularly Ashla Stedberg, is great. But I think
you got her name wrong.
I've got a name, Amanda.
Amanda Stenberg.
Stenberg?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll get there eventually.
It's all right.
Just Rue is fantastic in this. Nick Robinson, at times is good, at other times has all the lead screen appeal and sexual charisma of Aaron Sanford's Pyro from X-Men 2 and 3.
Look a bit like Pyro,
It's the hair.
Yeah.
It's the hair, but also the fact that why would you get a kid most known for displaying stalkerish tendencies in a Jurassic Park movie to then play the bad boy next door with exactly the same level of sexual charm and charisma?
He likes to wear black, though.
He does, yes.
Well, I think that's some other metaphor we're trying to say, because she is almost always in white, and then he loves wearing black.
She's very sort of florally coloured, isn't she? She has a lot of like bright yellow and things like that.
There's one point right at the start where she says, "I've got 112 white T-shirts."
Yes, and there's a significant moment involving a sweatshirt that is meant to depict her ascension into adulthood. But no, I will say this. I think we can basically close this out. I think by saying it's not aimed at you and I. I think quite clearly it is aimed at a 13/14-year-old girl. And I think if I were a 13 or 14-year-old girl, I would have been weeping at several points. I think I would have felt weak in the knees for the great romance at the centre of it all. And I think it delivers on that front. I think if you're a young girl who, for instance, wants something to double bill with The Fault in Our Stars, this is an obvious candidate.
I don't think it's as good as before.
Oh no, God no!
But I think that's more about the central story. But it's a better story than this.
Dude, there's no Laura Dern in this, so we don't need to kid ourselves.
No Sam from True Blood.
Exactly, we don't need to kid ourselves here.
No.
But you know what? Everything. It doesn't give you everything, but it gives you enough.
Oh, when did you write that one?
I didn't. I haven't written a review yet, so joke's on you. Pick a Rick. Okay, so should we just go straight to the box office top 5 and get this done?
Let's do it.
Let's get it on.
Number 5.
Despicable Me 3.
Which is still around and still making money because it's the school holidays, so
it probably won't be here next week.
Why might not? I mean,
we'll see. What's out next week?
All the films we're reviewing this week.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Hitman's Bodyguard will edge something down.
Yeah, I think Effen's got a good shot.
I think so. That's our Fault in Our Stars audience. But Despicable Me 3, the kids love it because it's the new Minions movie. And what young child does not enjoy that? I think it's the worst of the series so far, but you know what? It's still not awful. I enjoyed parts of it, and I did laugh a few times. I just didn't come away from it like I did the very first movie, thinking, oh my God, that's basically a modern masterpiece of animation. And I really do. I think the first movie is that good. I really do. Don't give me that look. Jim Jarmusch boy.
Number 4.
The emoji movie.
That is the actual audio noise for the shocked emoji.
Of course it is.
It really is. I had to look that up specifically.
I can imagine this makes Despicable Me 3 look like a Ghibli film.
It really does. It really does. However, it is funnier than Despicable Me 3. I'll give it that. There's a couple of gags in there that did actually make me genuinely laugh hysterically for at least 30 seconds. It is, though, the nastiest, darkest, most cynical work of corporate shill play that I've encountered since Battlefield Earth. And bear in mind, I've sat through and enjoyed movies specifically designed to sell McDonald's. So the idea that the Emoji Movie is somehow the most offensive thing I've ever seen is not something I can readily grab a hold of. There's stuff in there to like. You're a James Corden fan, I believe, aren't you? You watched the show.
I didn't used to, but I like the show. Yeah.
There's enough of James Corden, for instance, in his character that you think, okay, I can get on with that. It's basically just James Corden walking around. Fine. Oh, look, that's basically TJ Miller walking around. I can get on with that. I'm a TJ Miller fan. Fine. And if you get past all that, great. The problem is, the film's not anywhere near as clever as it thinks it is. It is a film at war with itself, as in the corporate side is fighting constantly with the comedic and creative side, and the resulting mishmash that you come out of 90-odd minutes later, you sit there and think, not the worst thing I've ever seen, but wow, was that a wildly conflicted and somewhat schizophrenic time. Although, I think young children will sucker for it. And, fair play.
Number 3.
Atomic Blonde.
Which I liked, I didn't love. I didn't. By the way, what button could we possibly have used?
Blondie.
But I thought about that. What do you want to go with? Call me?
Call me.
Call me. Next time. Okay, it's on. It's on. Next time.
It's happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Either that or just Atomic.
What, Atomic Kitten? I'm not putting Atomic Kitten on this show. I'm kidding.
Atomic by Blondie.
I know. I'm kidding. But
and then Atomic Kitten.
And then Atomic Kitten one week, yeah. But we never used Ed Sheeran for Sing, so we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere.
I thought we did.
No, we never did. I kept
we never
you.
that on my nose.
I threatened you. Right. Before I needed you to go to screenings for me, I used to threaten you, if you remember. Anyway, Atomic Blonde, I liked, I didn't love. I think it forgets to have fun. And all the ingredients are there.
I've not been to see it yet.
The staging of it, the setup of it, I mean, the fight scenes, the choreography, the performances, everything is there for you to enjoy. However, the film refuses to enjoy itself, and that's what sets it apart, for instance, from something like John Wick and even Everly. If you ever saw that Salma Hayek one, Everly, it forgets to have some fun with it. And I think that's something that really, really holds it back from basically being the action vehicle we've always wanted to see Charlize Theron in. Although it's getting increasingly difficult to remember that this is the same woman who played the hapless wife in The Devil's Advocate, but and the lead in Mighty Joe Young. But, if you're looking for a slightly more straightforward...
My ovaries, Kevin.
Oh, God. Don't. I love the devil's advocate. God likes to watch. He's an absentee landlord. On which note?
Number 2.
Annabelle Creation.
Which I have now seen. We didn't get to review it last week. I have
Do you want to
seen
give
it.
us a little review? Because I'm going to see it, I think, tomorrow. Maybe
Right.
afterwards.
It's like... Did you remember that Ouija sequel they made?
Yeah, way better than the first one, way better than it needed to be.
Same thing. Same exact scenario. David F. Sandberg directs the hell out of it.
I think this is it. They've got someone that's going to be a bit of a star.
They've got someone who knows he's got a future in this. Anthony LaPaglia just looks like a somewhat dishevelled and...
Tony the Peg.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like a dishevelled and somewhat aged Colin Farrell for some reason in this. Miranda Otto doesn't get a whole heap to do. The story, though, is quite kind of enjoyable, and the suspense of it is Conjuring level horror. It is that I'll stand on the right third of the screen and we'll just have darkness on the left 2/3, and then you think something's going to come from there, but actually it comes from over your shoulder on the right. Ha! We got you. Here's 90 minutes of that. It is that, and I'm fine with that. If you get over the fact that it's a prequel to a prequel that didn't need to exist as a spin-off to an existing movie, which instead is actually spawning a cinematic universe that's now going to wind up with 9 films in the next 3 years. Pretty enjoyable. It is a schlocky, fun, cheap and cheerful horror movie from the Conjuring team, and I'm fine with that because it's way, way better than the first one.
Number 1.
Dunkirk.
It wasn't going to go on much longer, don't worry. I was very conscious of that. You enjoyed Dunkirk, I believe.
I did.
I enjoyed Dunkirk as well. I think it's... academically, Christopher Nolan's biggest and best film. I enjoy Inception the most, but I think Dunkirk is the pinnacle he'll never quite break. And masterpiece, absolute cinematic masterpiece. It does things with time that are very interesting to actually watch unfold on screen. He's got a great cast. He's got a great team of creatives behind him. I think it's really, really something. Did you see it on? You saw it on standard screen, didn't you?
Yes, I've not seen it on IMAX. I'll try, but if I don't, I'll be sad, but I won't be devastated.
That's fine. I mean, I saw it IMAX 70mm, and I looked at it and thought, this is amazing, but I imagine it's still amazing on a smaller screen.
I didn't lose anything for just seeing it at a standard screen.
A great film is a great film. I mean, unless we're not talking about Gravity here, but, you know...
I mean, obviously, visuals are incredible. The sound was great.
The sound, I know.
The sound design is amazing.
I really loved Hans Zimmer's incorporation of that ticking clock. I think that's something... It's such a basic idea, but it's so effective.
And it's different in those 3 different periods as well, which I love.
Any favourite performance in there?
The clock.
The clock.
The clock itself.
Absolutely.
With the latest film news and reviews. This is OffScreen, the on-screen radio show.
And we're back, Mr. Allen. So, do you remember about a decade ago when climate change used to be called global warming?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Earth was, ruined. And then 10 years later...
Ozone, remember that? We had a hole in the ozone layer?
Yeah.
We never hear about that anymore.
No.
But, about 10 years ago, I think, was when global warming became climate change, and I firmly believe that is almost entirely because of An Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Which I like that film.
Yeah, well, I did as well, because it was a film that came out of nowhere and it told you something that really wasn't being discussed in the mainstream.
No.
And then, of course, hybrid cars became a thing as well. South Park did, of course, the brilliant hybrid car episode.
Yep.
And, of course, now it's a very, very different time. We are all aware of climate change. We all know what carbon footprints are, things like that. We didn't a decade ago, but guess what? There's a sequel, and it's cleverly titled An Inconvenient Sequel.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So what you've got is more or less the same thing again, but now it's got this sort of retroactive "we told you so" element. And so, if you're not familiar, Inconvenient Truth was vice president at the time, wasn't he, Al Gore? Had he?
Don't know. No, not when that film came.
Had he ceased being vice president at that point?
Ceased. Yeah, because it was.
He was Clinton's vice president.
It was. It was only 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. That was during the George W. Bush era.
Yes.
So it was a couple of years after his tenure as vice president. He had become a climate change activist, a global warming activist back then. And I'm pretty sure Al Gore just trademarked climate change as a term and just gets a nickel every time someone says it. So.
Maybe. Have you seen the little badge bit he wears everywhere?
I didn't notice it.
Wearing on this little press tour. Like, whenever you see a US politician, even like after service, will always wear the little like American flag badge.
Me Heart Earth. Is that
Me
what it
Heart.
is?
Yeah, well, it's a green circle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So same kind of thing again. But this time, now the story goes that they have had to they've had to alter the film slightly in post production, go back and alter a few things because in the time that this was in post production is round about the time that Trump got elected, and then of course after having altered it already, Trump went and pulled out of the Paris Accords. Yes, so they had to alter it again, and this is the problem. If you try to keep up with Donald Trump,
I think Al Gore is really bored of being asked about it, and every time he's asked about it, he's just like,
Oh, very much. Well, so you get the idea. This is about climate change 10 years on from An Inconvenient Truth. What's changed? What's gotten worse? What's gotten better? Here's a clip.
10 years ago, when the movie An Inconvenient Truth came out, the single most criticized scene in that movie was an animated scene showing that the combination of sea level rise and storm surge would put the ocean water into the 9/11 memorial site, which was then under construction. And people said, that's ridiculous. What a terrible exaggeration.
There is a wake-up call here, and that is climate change and our vulnerability to it. It was true 10 years ago, it was true 5 years ago, it is undeniable today.
So obviously the footage they show over that is Hurricane Sandy, and they show you the waters flooding into New York, actually filling up the 9/11 memorial site, which at this point is basically still a hole in the ground. And right, so first and foremost, the whole thing with An Inconvenient Truth is it was a film that came out of nowhere that discussed an issue that wasn't being discussed. Now, 10 years later, that issue is very much being discussed. That issue is being discussed in a whole new way post-Trump as well, which they couldn't necessarily have known when they obviously didn't know when they were making the film. But it does feel very much like, do you remember that documentary, You've Been Trumped, about the golf course, about how Trump screwed over the Scottish landowners? Yeah. Well, last year we reviewed You've Been Trumped 2. And the whole thing with that film was, you don't have anything new to say other than it's years later, we told you he was going to do this, he's still doing it. And that's kind of what you've got here, which is we told you climate change was coming, and 10 years on, here is our proof climate change is a factor. And it does take the form that you would expect. It does take the form, we told you, the waters would rise, we told you hurricanes would get worse, weather conditions would change. And it is that. And the problem is there's only so much of that you can take before it becomes a bit tiresome, before the same old scientific theories that you've already heard in a movie before. And let's be honest, no one's seeing this that hasn't seen An Inconvenient Truth. There is nobody that's going to see this one without having seen the first. And if you've seen the first, you really don't need to see this because you can flick on the news at any point and there is almost always a piece about climate change. So it feels like, well, not so much money for old rope, but money for just slightly longer rope, newer rope, if you will. And yeah.
I don't know what else this story needs, but rather than that, it's more just a case of we have to reiterate it because nothing is changed to the point where we're seeing actual change.
Yeah, I kind of got that with it, to be honest. But
I understand the argument of...
I'm not saying it's a pointless film. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a pointless film. I do think people should see it. I think it is an important film, but it's not as important as the last one was. The last one did actually delve slightly more into scientific theorem, I thought, but...
Yeah, but I think once you've seen that, you don't need to just see that repeated again. You will just... If you're going to do a sequel to a film like that, it's got to be... We've done this first film. Yeah. There's not been a strong enough result from that.
Well, in fact, that is its achievement. There you go. In fact, you've hit the nail on the head there. That is the achievement of it. And to be fair, Al Gore, obviously has a natural enthusiasm for the topic, and it's always engaging to watch him discuss it. And that hasn't faded. It's still got that going for it. But yeah.
I'm definitely going to see it. And I think in a weird way, it would be a good kind of double bill with the film that I went to go see yesterday in London.
Which was... Is that our next review, by any chance?
This is our next review.
That's like, if you're doubling this with the Untamed...
Oh, then... the Hitman's Bodyguard. It's just the same thing.
Inconvenient Truth, Inconvenient Sequel, and the Hitman's Bodyguard. There's a double bill. Yeah, in Matalan in the box sets. Yeah. You can totally see that happening.
No, I was talking about Le Odyssey.
Le Odyssey?
Le Odyssey, which
is it actually Le Odyssey? Is that
Le Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or just The Odyssey.
What is the plot of it? I know nothing of this.
Do you know who it's about?
No, I do not.
Okay, it is about Jacques Cousteau.
Is it Jacques Cousteau?
Or Jacques-Yves Cousteau.
I did not know that.
JYC.
JYC.
JYC. If you do actually call him JYC at
What's
one
the
point in
Y?
film. But like Ives.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, didn't think.
No, yeah, it is about essentially his life and times.
Okay, I didn't realise that.
His research, his family life, his extracurricular family life, shall we say.
There is a generation of hipsters, though, of course, who don't know Jacques Cousteau and
But
actually
do know
think
Life Aquatic
that
Steve
no,
Zissou.
Steve Zissou. Yeah. So
who was pretty much based on Jacques Cousteau.
He clearly was. So who's playing Cousteau? Is that
Cousteau is Lambert Wilson.
Lambert? Anyone else?
Not Wilson Lambert.
Not Wilson Lambert. Okay.
Audrey Tautou plays his wife, Simone, and is very, very good.
Well, you had my interest.
Yeah.
Now
And
you have my attention.
his two sons are played by Pierre Niney. I'm sorry if I've just...
I do know Pierre Niney, yes.
Yeah, he's
Why do
excellent.
I
He
know him?
plays Philippe, and then Laurent Lucas plays his other son, Jean-Michel.
Okay, so is this just a biopic? Is it a straight biopic?
It's essentially a straight biopic. It begins in 1948. His two lads are about, 6 and 7, that kind of age. And it's around about the time where he's still in the Navy at this point, and he's really getting to grips with like scuba diving technology and what they're calling the aqualung.
Ah, yes.
So because of that, it brings him a newfound kind of fame and notoriety. And he decides to essentially take a leap, get out of the Navy, and make that his life's work. Make exploring the ocean his life's work.
Okay.
He was actually, and I didn't know this at all, he was in the Air Force.
I didn't know that,
And
no.
because of, it was like a car crash, a car accident. He had an issue with his arm. His arm was pretty severely damaged.
Okay.
So because of that, he was deemed too, weak to fly. And so because of that, he thought, I won't be in the airs, I'll be in the sea.
I see.
And that's essentially where it comes from.
This sounds like an almost Nolan-esque character arc there.
A little bit, but it doesn't just concern about him. The main focus is about him and his younger son, Philippe.
Oh, so Pierre Niney.
Pierre Niney.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. I see. I remember really liking him in something, but I don't know off the top of my head what it was.
He is excellent in this, and his character essentially wants to go into the same work as Jacques Cousteau, wants to make films about the sea, wants to explore, but is more interested in keeping the Earth protected and keeping it safe and making sure that we're not doing too much damage.
I see
this
the double
is where
bill.
It comes into
I see the double bill thing now.
Inconvenient Sequel.
Did he grow up to become the Vice President of the United States?
He did not.
He did not.
And that man was Al Gore. No, he does detail his life as well. It doesn't go into so much about his brother's life. It's more just, it's a focus between Philippe and Jacques Cousteau.
Okay,
and I think that's a really interesting approach.
Okay, well, we've not got a whole heap of time on this. I want to ask, I've heard that this is a career-defining performance for Lambert Wilson.
Yes, absolutely. Because I really I knew him from just showing up as like a French assassin and being in The Matrix.
Yeah, he's the guy you get when is it Vincent Cassel is busy?
When Vincent Cassel is busy, or when Jean Reno, you need someone a little bit, little bit higher class.
A little bit higher class.
No disrespect to Jean Reno. I loved you in Godzilla.
Someone less padded around the midsection. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, Lambert Wilson, the guy is 59. You see him with his shirt off a lot in this film. Does not look it. Because in this film, it spans from the age of when I guess he's supposed to be like in his mid-40s, all the way up to, I assume, the end of his life.
I've seen different still images from the movie, and he is wildly different ages, and he's convincing in all of them. He looks absolutely convincing.
And same for the rest of the cast. Same for Audrey Tautou. Like, she's around like the late 30s when we meet her.
She's a really underrated actress, though.
And she's great.
She is great.
And she's great in this. She basically has to put up with him at one point, and some things that goes on within their private life. And then, because she has invested so much money in their boat called the Calypso.
Yeah, I actually knew that, believe it or not.
She is essentially like, this boat is my home. I ain't going anywhere. So, like, you can cheat on me, but, like, I don't want you bringing other women to
Cheat on me,
this.
don't cheat on the boat, man.
Exactly. Don't bring any more girls to this.
No floozies in the boat.
This is my home. And they essentially, kind of reconnect. And it's about the family. It is about what was happening in the world in like the early 70s in terms of like ocean pollution. And there's a part where he gets his films sponsored by a company who is into oil. So this kind of goes against everything that Philippe is going for. And
I sense you were a big fan of this, then.
I really was, yeah. Again, in a weird way, like everything, I liked it more and more. I just thought about it throughout the day.
One of those that percolates.
This definitely stuck with me more. And I'd like to see more biopics like this.
That's fair
Yeah,
enough.
I think it skims over some things I would like to see a little bit more of. Like, I wish the film paid more attention into the dynamic between the two sons.
Okay.
I think that would be an interesting approach, but some of the visuals are great and the score is really good. I'm not entirely sure who the composer is, but the director is, again, forgive me if I'm butchering your name, but I am a British man, so I'm going to give it my best, Jerome Sal.
I don't know him offhand.
Jerome Sal. Also wrote the film with Laurent Turner and Albert Falco. But if you can get it, I fully recommend it. It's like just over 2 hours, like 2 hours and change.
Okay, I think this
doesn't
is
feel like it.
this is one that's going to be on an art house cinemas, I believe. So like Curzon showroom.
Do you know what? It will, but it would play in like multiplexes.
Okay.
Because like it's got like an upbeat feeling to it. It's a little bit like the Untouchables a little bit.
I will
like,
watch this.
It could play to a mainstream audience.
I will watch this, but I feel like it's one that I'm going to be able to watch on Mubi in a month's time.
Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
It's not completely in French either. It's I would say it's about 2/3 in French and then 1/3 in English, because a lot of it takes place in New York. You have to meet like benefactors in America and stuff. But I enjoyed it. I would recommend it.
With the latest film news and reviews, this is Offscreen, the on-screen radio show.
And we're back. So, Mr. Allen, where shall we go next? Do you want to give me a bit of film news quickly?
I'll give you a tiny bit, and then we'll do our last review of the week.
Okay, what you got
for the radio shows? I've got some news that Samuel Jackson is not going to be Nick Fury in Avengers 3, Avengers 4, Avengers 4,
okay,
or Black Panther. He seems to be the most annoyed about Black Panther.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if anyone noticed that he's the second black character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, there's a quote from him saying, "How do you make a film about Black Superhero and not call Nick Fury?"
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, but this was like he gave this interview, gave that quote before he was casting Captain Marvel.
Okay.
So maybe they did have like a grander plan.
But hang on a minute, because Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s, which means we're still not going to catch up within the present.
There's going to be like a bookended thing.
Maybe
that film, a little bit like Wonder Woman, perchance.
Okay, I could go with that.
Not saying we're copying, but
what is this going to be like? Brie Larson working in a library, telling you about that time she was a superhero.
I bet she was like, remember that time when I was really into Nirvana and lived in Seattle in the 90s?
Yeah, and then Tony Stark sends her like a photo of her in her grunge era, and she flashes back, and
yeah,
that's
wearing,
totally
like,
what's going to happen.
About like dirty blonde hair.
Exactly.
Great.
Because Captain Marvel does have that spiky punk hair nowadays, so I could totally see that being the reason why.
Yeah.
Seattle-based grunge movement.
But of course, Captain Marvel won't be in Infinity War.
No, she won't. Although Brie Larson will.
Yeah.
So, begging the question...
we may see Carol.
We may see, yeah. But she will have her powers because she was in the 90s. So...
It was very interesting the way that, I think it was Joe Russo?
Yeah.
It was either Joe or Anthony at San Diego Comic-Con.
I think it might have been Joe.
Said that Captain Marvel will not be in Infinity War. Didn't say anything about the next Avengers, and didn't just say Carol Danvers or Brie Larson. So Captain Marvel will be.
That's fair.
Which is interesting. And also, I don't think you announce it that far ahead, because she was announced at last year's Comic-Con, was she not?
She was, yeah.
So, like, what's the point in announcing it? Unless they were just like, Brie Larson's going to be a big star, let's get her now.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well,
let's lock it down.
I know you're more you are more sort of up to speed with your US talk shows than I am. I watch a few. You tend to watch more than I do. I'll be honest. I sort of tap out James Corden, but
yeah, I tend to. I'm pretty loyal to Seth Meyers and Colbert.
You are really.
They're always.
You're really loyal to Myers. I've noticed that. Yeah. But she's everywhere at the minute, Brie Larson, because she's promoting The Glass House, which is getting great reviews.
Glass Castle.
Glass Castle, sorry.
Glass Castle, yeah.
Which is getting great reviews. And I can't wait to see that.
Is it?
Yeah, it's getting quite good reviews from what I've seen.
Okay.
But why have you heard different?
I've heard differently.
Ah, okay.
But I've heard that she is good.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking she's getting good reviews.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let's talk about Stanley Tucci's latest efforts.
The Tooch.
The Tooch.
The Tooch. Not the Mooch. The Tooch.
The Tooch has teamed up with the Rush and the Hammer. And, oh man, do you remember that Batman Returns poster that was the bat, the cat, the penguin?
Yes.
Could have done that for this.
Could have done that.
The Tooch, the Rush, the Hammer.
Or,
oh my god.
The piano genius from Shine.
Yep.
Shiny McShine.
Oh, God. Now, funny you say that, because there is some overlap between this and Shine, actually.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the story of Alfredo Giacometti, the artist.
You're going to bust out some Fresh Prince.
This is the story all about how Paris got turned, flipped upside down.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there, and I'll tell you the story of Armie Hammer's hair.
I was like, how is he going to resolve his rhyme?
My rhyme's as fresh, yo. Anyway, so this is the story of Alberto Giacometti. Basically, Armie Hammer plays an American writer in Paris who has formed a friendship with Giacometti and is asked one day, mere days before he's due to return to the US, will he sit and pose for a portrait? Now, he agrees to this. Giacometti, by the way, is played by Geoffrey Rush in full shine mode. So, I will warn you, by the way, our clip for this, which is one of the few we were able to get, had to be bleeped to buggery. It is because he curses a lot in this. He's a very eccentric artist, and the idea is that
Geoffrey Rush does.
Geoffrey Rush, oh yeah.
Hello.
The idea is that the few days that Armie Hammer's character has put aside for this portrait, nowhere near enough, and the film literally, because it's the last portrait Giacometti ever did, it chronicles the enormously elongated process of working with an obsessive, very perfection-oriented artist like Giacometti, and how this goes from taking an afternoon or two to actual weeks, and I mean nearly a month. This clocks up at like the 3-week mark. Here's a clip.
Okay, let's go. Front on, you look like a brute. Lower your chin. Side on, you look like a degenerate. Not so far. Don't smile. Don't scratch.
Oh my God.
What are you doing? Don't move. There. Stay there. That's good. Oh,
How much longer can it go on like this?
Yeah, a lot.
Yes.
An absolute lot.
Yeah, Jeff Rush.
If you're, because obviously you are a fan of Geoffrey Rush.
Well, it was not.
Well, some people are dead inside.
I've never heard anyone say, do you know who I don't like? Geoffrey Rush. Jude Law, sure. But
That's where you went with that.
Yeah.
That was the name you pulled
it's
out
only
of
because
that.
I've heard more than 3 people say they don't like Jude Law.
That's fair
When
enough.
you hear more than 3 people, you take notice.
I've told you I don't like Miles Teller every day for the last 5 years.
Yes,
so
you are one man.
I am but one man.
It's not the volume of one man, it's the volume of many men.
True.
Kase Allen.
So this comes to us from Stanley Tucci, and well, Stanley Tucci, he has something of a sort of an occasional directorial history. He does direct films not often, but every few years.
I've only seen Big Night.
Because that's the first one.
It's him and Bashub.
Right.
Turn
Funny
Shalhoub.
you mentioned
Is
the
Bashub-
Shub.
is
The
Bashub in it?
Shub is in this.
Mr. Monk.
He is Geoffrey Rush's brother. Jeffrey Wright, very different actor. He
Great
is
actor, though.
Geoffrey Rush's brother.
That's amazing. Yes,
And
Shub.
yep, and the Shub, he gets some.
Do you know what's weird?
Go
You
on.
just said Jeffrey Wright. Tony Shalhoub was originally going to be the character that Jeffrey Wright plays in Hunger Games.
You kidding?
Seriously, he was going to. Is it Wires? Is
I'm not sure.
yeah, it's Wires and BT. Yeah, he was going to be Wires.
Ah,
Very
okay.
strange you said that.
Well, I know what you're thinking. That's what it is.
It's a small world.
Sorry, you sing that and I hear Duff Beer for me, Duff Beer for you.
I'll have a Duffy Lab one too.
I really, really got into this. It's a brilliant portrayal of artistic obsession, of the need to convey your mind's eye, to bring the mental image into the world, and it is about how destructive that can be. It's about the effect that this has on the people around Giacometti. He has a wife, for instance, but he also has a lover that he's not particularly very secretive about, who's played by Clemence Passé from from, I know her largely from The Tunnel, the British remake of The Bridge, which is a really, really underrated series.
Isn't she in Bruges?
She is as well, yes, but I know her mostly for that.
Harry Potter.
Is she? Oh, she is.
Goblin.
Yes, you're right. She is. Thank you. I forgot that. But no, she's very good in this. Armie Hammer is very good in this as well. He gets something to do. The hammer brings the hammer down.
He brings the hammer
He
down.
brings the hammer
Why
down.
are you always surprised when Armie Hammer is good?
Because I've seen The Lone Ranger.
So?
I've seen The Lone Ranger.
I like the Lone Ranger. You tell me, even if you don't like the
I'm
Lone
a fight
Ranger,
you. I'm a fight you.
you tell me that 20-minute train sequence isn't good.
Which one? The first one or the fourth one?
The amazing one at the end.
Again, the first one or the fourth one?
There's 2.
Are there? Oh, I'm sorry. It's because about 45 minutes of that near 2.5-hour runtime seem to be made up entirely of train sequences to justify having built several miles of an actual functioning working railway. So Yeah.
It's a plot point. What is your problem with that?
I was just bored.
I could tell.
Yeah, I'm lonely. I don't get out much. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, do see this. It is tremendous. The performances are great. The writing is sharp. It is insightful. It really paints. No pun intended. It paints a great portrait. It paints a great portrait of this man, and it does give you a really solid insight into the mind of Giacometti himself. And Jeffrey Rush is having the time of his life here.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. He's laughing all the way to the bank, and I hope he got paid well for it. He deserves it. He deserves every penny. But yeah, I liked The Hammer too. I liked Clemens Posey, and of course,
is it Clemens Posey or Clemens Posey?
There's an accent in there, and of course the Shoob, the Shoob, the Hoop.
I'll be calling him
the Lube.
Hello. Sorry. I've been calling him the Shoob.
The Shoob. He's the Shoob.
It like combines
Shaloub.
His name. Yeah.
Shaloub. He's the Shoob. Okay.
The Shoob.
Forevermore, he is the Shoob. So yeah, I mean, of everything this week, it's been a decently strong week for theatrical releases, I think. Yeah. You saw 4. I saw 4. You saw Hitman's Bodyguard, The Odyssey, Untamed, and Everything.
Yeah.
What was your film of the week out of those?
Well, I text you saying Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yep.
With Odyssey second. Everything first.
If Cassie wants to go to the multiplex this weekend with you, and you've seen all these films, but you have to see one again, which one do you see?
If the Odyssey is gone, if it's out, if it's on at the multiplex, I would take her to see that. I think she would, but she would probably have fun watching Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson as well.
Who wouldn't?
Like I'd put those at even pegging.
I'm going with Final Portrait, but I've not seen The Hitman's Bodyguard, and I know that come Friday, when these films are on public release, I will be seeing The Hitman's Bodyguard.
And also, if you can get a screener link for Odyssey, I really, really think you should watch it.
The general public can't, but we get the screener links. They send them us.
Oh, sorry, see, I'm not talking to them.
Okay. Yeah.
You think I'm directing this to anyone listening to a show?
So I say, the PR companies don't just send out screener links to the public. That's very strange, and that would make them a sort of weird free version of Netflix. But Free flicks, yeah. But yeah, so you're going with you're going with The Odyssey / Hitman's Bodyguard. I'm going with The Final Portrait, which I really enjoyed, and I will watch again. And I know that because you've got a link for that, you should watch it. You will enjoy it, and it's got the Shoob, which is always an amazing thing. So next week is going to be a relatively fun one as well, because one of my favourite ever movies is in cinemas next week. But next week we have an action movie starring Dave Bautista. It is called Bushwick. It's a wick in a bush. Bushwick. we have the much discussed Detroit next week.
Yes,
a film that will remind us that it is 2017 and Catherine Bigelow is still the only woman to ever win the Best Director Oscar. So yeah, look to that, please, Hollywood. Logan Lucky is next week.
Can't wait for that film.
Oh, Adam Driver, Chantate, Riley Keough, Daniel Craig.
Introducing Daniel Craig.
Una is next week as well. Ben Mendelsohn and... Ben Menz and Rooney Mara, so Rumar, and Hotel Salvation next week. I don't know an awful lot about that one. We have also got Bill Nye Does From Hell, a.k.a. the Limehouse Golem.
Very good.
I know, can't wait for that. We've got Mr. Cruz, Mr. Lyman, American Made, yo.
Yeah, we'll see.
Not that excited about that one? Okay. And of course, one of my favourite movies of all time, the movie that made me love movies when I was but a wee boy.
Showgirls is coming back.
Showgirls is back in 3D. I'm kidding. I would love that if that were the case. Just
more like 3DD.
Yeah, swimming pool sequence in 3D. Why has no one done this? No, Terminator 2 Judgment Day in 3D is next week. I can't wait. We have film news about that for the podcast.
Say it with me, everyone.
Well played, sir. Well played. In the meanwhile...
Today is James Cameron's birthday.
Is it?
As well. He's 63.
Oh, good God.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Which is about the number of seconds he puts into thinking about what he's going to make next.
No, that's the number of sequels to Avatar we're going to get.
Exactly. So, all those to come more next week off screen. Don't forget, check out onscreenfilm.com for competitions. Download the podcast edition for the extended edition. More reviews, Moment of Cage, tons of fun. That's on every podcast platform you can find. In the meanwhile, this has been a Canny Store production for On Screen. I've been Van Connor.
I've been an inconvenient Kase Allen.
And we'll be back.
Just show me the way to get out of here, and I'll be on my way.
You've been listening to OffScreen. For more news and reviews, visit onscreenfilm.com.
there's not a lot of news.
Oh, well, that's always the case, isn't it? When we have to do reviews in the podcast extras, there's never news, is there? I can think of a few things.
I've got some things. I've not come empty-handed to this party.
Well, that's fair enough. Can I follow up the Cameron 3D thing?
Yes.
Because he's doing Terminator 2 in 3D this next week. Thank you. And we'll just have a button for next week. We are just going to have a button.
Oh, good.
That's it. We'll just have a button and we'll overuse it.
Save my hands.
It's going to be next week's Pickle Rick. We're just going to overuse it.
I'm Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick!
Have you seen episode 4, by the way?
I have. It's the first one of the current series that I haven't outright, just unabashedly loved.
Right.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy to have Christian Slater in anything.
Yeah, I knew it was him straight away.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Million Ants.
Oh God,
Million
yes.
Ants is good.
I think I need to rewatch it. But
yes, same.
Also, I did like that it was the first episode of Rick and Morty that actually outright implied that there are adventures that take place off screen.
Yes,
so
that was good.
I liked that idea because the fact that there are adventures that Rick and Morty have gone on that we are not privy to, which is great. But
this is the third of the Vindicators' adventures,
because apparently there's a second one that even they don't know about. There is an episode, by the way, coming up in which Rick and Jerry will go on an adventure. Apparently. So,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, because Jerry's obviously not been in it much.
But I've got a theory, by the way. This is completely unfounded, but I think that there's a Bad Wolf. I think that there's a Bad Wolf style storyline that someone is seeding. Someone is seeding loser throughout history to drive Jerry to suicide, and Rick and Morty will have to employ time travel to save him.
That could be ace.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh yeah, because he's like opening that packet.
Yeah, loser. I think that's where that's going.
Do you know, it'd be great if it was Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, I feel like if you got...
You're a loser.
Oh, by the way, in Everything, you said about Patricia Clarkson on a phone.
Yeah, I went on her IMDb.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything.
Doesn't say anything
on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it? It is, isn't it?
I'm convinced the phone call that the girl receives towards the end of the second act in Everything, I think you're right. I think that is Patricia Clarkson.
But why would she do it and be completely uncredited?
In the same way that Michael Caine is uncredited for being the mission, air traffic control.
She's worked with like the director or
in Dunkirk. Entirely possible. We don't know these things. Well, look it up. But okay, should we have a
Kase looks it up?
Should we have a bit of fun with our next review then? Because I know you've been itching to talk about.
Oh God,
this.
we're going to talk about it. Is it now?
It's now, I'm afraid, Mr. Allen.
All right. Yeah. Right. Let's do it.
So, The Untamed.
I hated it.
You just can't contain yourself, can you?
I hated it.
You absolutely cannot contain yourself. Go on.
Hated it.
You want to see him? He's actually bursting. You can see it. It's bursting. He's on the verge of bursting. It's building up inside him.
Talk about it, and then I'll probably just say I hated it again.
Okay, so Spanish language film whose title weirdly translates to The Wilderness, not The Untamed. But
yeah, another reason why I hate it.
Okay.
I looked it up and I was...
You looked it up, fair enough. So La Région Sauvage, which translates to The Wilderness, not The Untamed, which centres around a family unit, husband, wife, two sons, and it's a film of two halves. It's very much that there's one film that then stops, and then there's another film that starts, and then elements from the first film come up in it. And yeah, now that annoyed me, I'm going to be really honest.
Yes.
But, okay, so the first film is about the family unit, father, mother, two sons, and the mother is sexually unfulfilled. The father is carrying on a gay relationship with her brother.
Yeah. Well, his brother-in-law, yeah.
His brother-in-law, her brother. And when the brother turns up dead, he finds himself accused of the crime, is taken away, and then the second film starts. And the second film involves the mother and her new friend, introducing her to a sexualized, tentacle-based extraterrestrial biological entity who seems to create feelings of innate euphoria in a cult-like fashion amongst the victims that it parasitically and sexually defiles.
There is no coherence.
No, none whatsoever. Absolutely none whatsoever. You know what? If you open, I'm going to be honest, if you open a movie with boobs, you've usually got my interest for about 15 minutes.
But it doesn't open with boobs. There are two things before the boobs.
There are. Sorry, yes, there are. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm not saying we watch films just for boobs. Just sometimes that's a happy bonus. I'm sure
it's a happy bonus.
That's fine. And the film opens as a black screen, And then the words "The Untamed"
Yep.
are on screen.
And then, of course, is the meteor?
And then it's Meteor.
Yep.
Just like slowly
Which I interpret to be the arrival of the tentacle-based parasitic EVA.
That's what I assumed as well.
Okay.
That's on screen for, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, something like that. And then cut to black, just stark black.
Yep.
And then a woman who looks like she's having a good time with herself in a barn. And then you see a tentacle come out of somewhere where a tentacle.
Well, I'll be really honest. When I first saw that scene of her, I couldn't tell if she was upset or enjoying herself. I really couldn't. I mean, the fact that she's naked tells you that she's enjoying herself, but it implies that she's enjoying herself. But she did look unhappy.
Yeah.
She looked dissatisfied. But
you feel like you've never played with another person before then.
yeah, I'll be really honest. If you removed that scene, this very, very possibly could have just been a case of, by the way, there's an alien.
Yeah,
It really could have been.
It seems like
It just took that moment out.
They shot like a drama about like a family coming undone.
Yeah.
About gay adultery.
Here's the thing. If that had been the movie, you'd have enjoyed it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd have thought, oh, this is an interesting one. Okay, family dynamic, gay adultery. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, undercurrent of
'Cause you could have done,
homophobia, aggression.
You could have done some scenes where he goes to jail and he feels like he's...
I'd be perfectly on board with that movie.
As would I.
Really would. I would have thought that was actually quite an interesting idea. I would have been intrigued to see that.
But instead of that, we get these sex scenes.
we get alien tentacle sex.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot, yeah.
There's a lot of it.
They don't skimp on the tentacle sex.
And there's no music.
No.
And there's no other sounds.
No. This is a 98-minute hentai fan's wet dream.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I mean, this makes the opening credits of Spectre look absolutely restrained. Yeah. It really does. It's officially qualified under drama, horror, sci-fi. And you sort of think, well, I feel like the sci-fi element of that, and indeed the horror, is something that came about purely because we couldn't come up with an ending.
Yeah. Let's put in like a squid monster.
Squid monster.
Space
Absolutely what you do. So this is written and directed by Amata Escalante, who directed Sangre. Do you remember that? About 12 years ago now, Sangre. And the wonderfully named Los Bastardos, which is a title I will never get bored of saying aloud. Now, directorially, not uninteresting. Not uninteresting at all. And in fact, I will give it to the filmmakers. The actual design of the alien itself is an intriguing idea and actually does lend itself to the sexualized sort of element that it brings. The problem is, it's a slog once you get to that point. The family drama, interesting, and then when the family drama stops, slog time. And indeed, snog time. But
there was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of just good drama.
Yeah.
And there's tension there, and it's fine.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Ruth Ramos, who plays Alejandra, the mother, the wife, great performance from her. I thought very good, investable performance. But she seems to be under the impression that it's a different movie that has coherence, because that's the only way I can think she's brought that performance to it. Nobody else has that level of investment in their performance, and I think they seem to be aware that the film's a mess. So, yeah. I mean, I hated it, but I only hated it after about the half-hour mark. So, yeah.
I hated the intro, and then the scene just after the intro.
That was the film.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's the film, yeah. I liked the end credits because it signified it was ending.
I was sat in a really nice chair. I was sat in like quite a comfortable chair.
Is this when you were at Soho House?
No, I was at Delane Lee.
Delane Lee, okay.
Which was nice.
It's very nice.
It was a good screen, and they had like these little loads of tiny little LEDs, with, like a blanket of stars.
A blanket of stars on the ceiling.
I was a fan of that. That was good.
You reviewed the screening room, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you take your notepad out and actually review the screening room? Is that what it was?
Actually, I didn't have any paper or anything. Everyone else had bits of paper. And
I'm sorry. I should have.
No, it's fine.
I sent you one of my pens. But...
I've got pens in house.
I meant the light-up ones you write in the dark.
Oh, that would have been cool. I would have felt even more like a pretentious ass.
Well, next time you go, ask Alan, because courtesy of me, at any given time, he's got 4 of them on him. So,
nice.
Yeah.
No, everyone else had notepads and stuff, and I was just there I'm here to see a film.
Oh, Robbie Collins does his on Needlecraft. He takes his notes on Needlecraft. But I'm kidding. Although I would totally believe that. If someone told me that, I would believe it. I'll be honest. I really would. It's called a tomatometer. But anyway, so, Ruth Ramos, other than that, not really a whole heap of reason to watch The Untamed.
I'm literally yawning.
I know. Yeah. I was yawning all the way through it, but
I hate it. Yeah, I will be honest. There was about 5 minutes where I was nodding in and out of sleep, and then
I believe it.
But in that point, I thought, oh no, is that like where it ties everything together? Is it just like one 5-minute scene of exposition where it's just like,
I'm gonna sleep?
This is why this is why there's a meteorite. This is a monster that's come from it. These are people who are going to be affected. Da, 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 da.
Shall I let you in a little secret?
That's not bad.
No, I'll let you in a little secret. Well, first of all, that moment isn't there in the movie. But in terms of avoiding nodding off in films, there is a trick. If you have an Apple Watch, there is an app called Coffee Wake that you could change the settings. I set it to 60 seconds, and every 60 seconds it sends a shock up your wrist and keeps you awake.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I do a lot of screens at 9 in the morning, having travelled to London. So, yeah.
I was really awake for the 9 a.m. screening of the Odyssey.
Which you loved, so I imagine that kept you awake. And then, of course, you ended with Hitman's Bodyguard. So you bookended with nice films in a nice setting.
I did.
So
I'll go again if I go to that cinema. It was amazing.
Soho House, people. Soho House. It's all about Soho House. Some news. Give me some news. So what we got?
Like I said, not a great deal of news.
Okay.
We've said about Bond coming back. They're still looking for a director.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Cameron thing. We didn't finish up talking about the Cameron thing. The James Cameron.
Always finish your anecdotes.
I'm sorry.
James, that'll give me time to do some news.
It was about Terminator 2 3D. That's a test case. He wants to do Aliens next.
Oh, well, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, my second favourite film of all time is Aliens. So...
I want to see True Lies in 3D.
True Lies is now being remastered in 4K because it's never had a high-definition release.
Does it not?
It's not. True Lies and The Abyss are getting that treatment now. They are being polished up at Lightstorm right now.
As well.
So, yeah, well...
It can make good films, can't
I haven't seen The Abyss since I was a child.
It's great.
But...
and it's got Houston in it.
It has. It's got Ed Houston.
Ed Houston.
Ed Houston. I'm pretty sure that people think that's his name.
Have you seen the trailer for Mother?
Yeah, the Jennifer Lawrence, Darren Aronofsky thing.
Yeah.
I watched that trailer with my mother, who response was, "That looks weird, but I'm intrigued."
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
it looks good, but yeah, Ed Harris is in that with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah,
fair enough. I watched a documentary the other day about the cinematic history of Batman, and Michelle Pfeiffer pops up at one point, and
she's great.
1991 Michelle Pfeiffer pops up at one point.
She's perfect.
And you listen to her speaking about her role as Catwoman, and I'll be honest, the thought, wow, that really is just the perfect lady right there. She's she's the pinnacle of lady. Yep, okay, perfect Catwoman.
She is Prime Lady.
She is Prime Lady. She is Lady Prime. That's basically
Optimus Prime's wife.
Optimus Prime's wife. She is Prime Lady. But, yeah, so I recommend that documentary, by the way. It's on YouTube. It's called Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic history of the Dark Knight, I believe.
Should we talk about the Jordan Vogt Roberts?
How do you say his name? Say his name.
I think so.
I've been calling him Voight.
I'm not saying Voight because it's not spelt the way.
It's not, is it? No.
It's not John Voight.
It's not, is it? No. It's Jordan Voight.
Yeah, there's no H's in there. There's no I's. I'm not calling it.
Okay. No. What we're gonna go with Vogt.
I'm saying Vogt until he tells
Vogt sounds like I want to say yogurt with a V.
It's a violet yogurt.
Violent yogurt, yeah. A violent yogurt is a Vogt.
It's a Vogt. It's a yogurt you throw at someone in disgust after watching the Untamed.
See, now I'm thinking of that moment where someone threw the shoe at George W. Bush when someone's throwing a yogurt.
Hey, he was a smart man. He believed that man and goldfish could coexist peacefully.
Well, I mean, I personally yearn for a day of peaceful coexistence with goldfish.
Yeah.
But
I think he's really enjoying... Well... Not enjoying who's currently in office, but enjoying not being the stupidest president.
Yes, I think he's very much... I mean, literally, that's a dude who just pops up and says, bet you missed me now.
Yeah, and also, he's friends with Bill Clinton. They do, speeches... Yeah, they did, a speech together recently.
We'd love to go golfing with those two.
There's an amazing photo taken a couple of months ago. They went to... It was with George... I forget which Bush library it was. One of the President Bush's libraries, and there's two statues of the President's Bush.
Yeah.
And Bill Clinton's
sorry, just say it again, because you just said there's two statues of the President's Bush.
Yeah.
And
well, that's how you would pronounce it.
That's amazing.
It's
to me.
like if there's two attorney generals, it would be attorneys general.
Okay, I've never really thought about the President's Bush.
President's Bush,
And,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's obviously a very neat statue.
Well,
but
this is even better because there's a photo of...
there's photos of the President's Bush.
There's a photo of Bill Clinton in between the President's Bush.
That's amazing. I
great.
really want to see
And
Clinton.
he's got like a really cheeky face.
Yeah, I want to see Clinton amidst the President's Bush. I do. But
That's a film.
this is like when Andy Meakin talked about Philip K. Dick on the radio and kept talking about how much he loved good dick.
Yeah.
That man.
It would be good to see Clinton being in between the President's Bush because it was usually someone else in between the President's Bush.
Well, Clinton did serve between the President's Bush. He did.
Yeah.
He was the incumbent president.
And then someone else was between his President's Bush.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, actually, I was more between his cigars, but that was more priming his cigar between the President's Bush.
Yeah.
So
this is a film show, everyone.
This is a film show, and we've just wasted about 90 seconds on sheer innuendo. In her endo.
Hi-yo. Anyway, Jordan Vogt Roberts.
So Jordan Violent Yogurt Roberts.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a YouTube channel that I'm sure everyone is aware of called CinemaSins.
Okay. I think only about 11,000 people are aware of it, but yeah.
Oh, really?
It's quite a lower number than you think, I think.
Not, maybe not as big as like Cinefix or Screen Junkies. Like Screen Junkies and Honest Trailers is the behemoth, isn't it?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I've got to look it up because I'm curious now.
I think it's quite popular because what they do, they'll focus on one film and then literally just look at all the
everything wrong with it,
scenes, or just everything wrong about it. If you have got another channel where it's looking at like all the awesome things, I forget what that's called.
Oh, tell you what,
not CinemaSins?
I am very wrong. It is 7.1 million.
Oh, they're doing okay.
They're doing all right. They're doing okay.
11,000.
Yeah, I feel like they're doing. Was it 11,000? I looked it up. It was. I think it might be Geek.com. Geek.com has 11,000 subscribers. I was like, okay, that's so weird to me because I watch Geek.com all the time. I'm a big fan of Movie Bob. Movie Bob's on Geek.com on YouTube. So yeah,
no, CinemaSins are pretty big.
Pretty big.
And all the films that are on there, they do this thing where they'll look at everything wrong at the film.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it to be serious.
No, it's a parody.
It's like the Honest Trailers, guys.
Basically, it's parodic nitpicking.
It is. But you would ask them, they'll say, we actually do like...
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, we don't love all the films, but like
No.
they love films. They're really passionate about it. They're not doing it to piss anyone off. However, Jordan Vogt Robert is pissed off. They did one about Kong Skull Island.
They did,
and he has ripped nearly all of the points about it apart on Twitter.
Screen grabs and everything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
What's the point?
Because, I mean, if you want me to throw in my 2 cents on this guy, first of all, I really like Kong Skull Island. I do. I'm a fan of the film. I think it's a huge step up from Godzilla. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with those films next. I think he did a great...
For him, yeah. Him himself.
I think he did a great job.
Did he only do, was it Kings of Summer? Which I do like.
I liked Kings of Summer as well.
He's got a kid from Everything.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's got Nick Offerman, yo.
And Megan Mullally.
Yeah. So, Offerlady, I'm a big fan of.
Exactly. So, any guy that brings those two together, you've done good work.
You have done fine work.
And then this film, I enjoyed it as well.
I did, yeah. But I feel like maybe he just lacks a sense of humour. Maybe that's it. And or maybe he was having a bad day and it just caught him a little off guard and he was a bit reactive. That's fair enough. But... there are better hills to die on. There really are. And, I mean, it has been... Honest Trailers has been lumped in with this as well, to an extent. And I think to pick on Honest Trailers is particularly unfair because Honest Trailers is very vocal about the love of the film.
Yeah, and they actually talked to some of the directors. Like, they've done things about some of the Marvel things, and then spoke to the Russos. They spoke to Zack Stentz, who wrote the first Thor movie.
Yeah.
So,
do you remember about 6 weeks or so
I think that James Gunn retweeted the one for Guardians 2.
Right, here's the thing. Right, so about 6 weeks ago, you remember I met Andy Signore in London? The Honest Trailers guy, the Screen Junkies guy. I met him in London, and he was talking to us about...
Andy Signore.
Andy Signore, yeah. He was talking to us about Honest Trailers, and he said, actually, the weirdest thing about it is, we get more people involved in the making of the film who give us feedback than actually just are watching the honest trailer.
Yeah.
So the general viewing public don't tend to get in touch with them anywhere near as much as the actual people who worked on the film.
There'll be people like on YouTube, of course, but
well, because the studios now are quite in on the gag. So, for instance, he was telling us, this was a couple of weeks before the Despicable Me Minions trailer. They apparently have to, like Universal, have to approve that. Like, they can't just do an honest trailer. It has to be approved by the studio. And even then, they want a vague idea of what the content will be. So the studio's in on the gag. So CinemaSins are not going to get away necessarily with the same shtick. CinemaSins have to have a certain level of approval. And obviously, it's gone down that road. And obviously, in this case, I think he's just caught possibly a humorous man on a bad day. So, leave it there.
Well, you're saying that Jordan Berger Roberts is a humorous man?
I'm saying he might be a humorless man. We don't know. I would believe, having seen Kong Skull Island, that he has got something of...
Right.
Yeah, I think he has got something of a wry wit about him.
Yeah.
Must have to have made that movie. But...
I think doing this kind of lengthy attack will hurt him more than it will hurt them. And it's a bit of a shame, because... Just take it as some sort of form of appreciation, really.
Exactly. I would have taken it that way.
Yeah.
It's like a badge of honour, to have a CinemaSins video or an honest trailer.
Do a podcast Sins and have us on there, because we're probably pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, funnily enough, we were talking earlier about... I was talking about shows I can't believe don't exist. Right. How has no one set up... And I said it's possible Screen Junkies have this as a show. How has no one set up a programme entirely designed around the idea of creating fictional sequels to movies that never got them?
I feel like somebody has done this.
It seems like too obvious an idea, doesn't it?
But I would love to do that.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love to have an entire podcast dedicated to, here's our pitch for Surf Ninjas 2 Retaliation? Which is absolutely, by the way, a movie that should exist.
Because it's kind of like that bit in This Is the End, where they film
Pineapple Express 2, yeah. Oh, man, that's so good. Did you know that This Is the End is being added to Mubi this month?
Okay.
You know, Mubi are a curated service who add a film every single day, and it's one that they think has cultural significance. They are adding This Is the End this month. They're also adding Moana.
There's a lot of... Well, that's a great film. There are a lot of famous people in This Is the End. They all fall into a big hole.
I love This Is the End.
Yeah, I watched it recently, actually.
It's just...
Yeah, it's good.
Jonah Hill playing Woody Harrelson is amazing. It's the people's read.
Just his character, the fact that he's supposed to hate Jay Baruchel the whole time.
Yeah,
is good.
dear God,
it was like,
please kill Jay.
Sick reference. Your references are so
yours
tight.
just a great. Yeah, your references are tight. Yeah,
everyone says it.
For me, it's James Franco saying like, "You don't like art." It's like, you ever go to Subway? You just have art.
Sandwich artists. You just had art, bro. And his whole interaction with Danny McBride.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think that's the most I've liked Danny McBride as well.
Oh, ever, yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, I've never really gotten on with Eastbound and Down, I must admit.
No, but I do really like Vice Principals.
Yes, I've never watched past the pilot. So
it's good.
Okay, let's do our final review of the week then. And then we'll just mop up all the news. So, Napping Princess, which is an anime movie, which I think is based on alternative works. I think it's based on graphic novels or something. It's very difficult to find a coherent answer to anything on this film. Right, so this is the story of Kokone. She is a schoolgirl. She has exams to look forward to. She also seems to have what seems to be narcolepsy. It's listed as a work of manga, even though it's an anime. So I'm confused as to what the terminology was here. I always thought manga was comic book or written form, anime was animation. So, this is the story of Kokone. Her father is arrested shortly before the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, I think? 2020, is that right?
Yes.
I'm just going to imagine. Right. And she then finds out that her dreams seem to have a relevance on the real world, and that this seems to involve a mystery surrounding what the secrets that her family are keeping that have resulted in her father being arrested. She also then discovers a magic iPad, or literally a magic tablet, because one of the alternative titles for this movie is something like RCN and the Magic Tablet. And she goes through life she goes on this journey, on this mission to sort of save her father with the magic tablet, which imbues her with magical powers. Anything she writes down in this tablet, on this iPad, happens. And, yeah. Okay. Tonally, it's a disaster. Conceptually, it is muddled, to say the very least. Visually, it's beautiful. I mean, really, it's a good-looking film.
Right.
But it's imagine the best looking person you've ever met in your life if they were a drooling idiot. and you'd basically have the human incarnation of Napping Princess, a movie that, incidentally, you very easily could nap through and would make about as much sense as if you'd stayed awake. It's one of those, you just think, I can't figure out who the audience for this is. I mean, even the anime fans have got to admit on this one, this doesn't make any damn sense.
It just don't work.
I mean, other than the fact that, your main character is, the typically gloriously animated Japanese schoolgirl, you just sort of think, I can't see where the appeal in this actually is, other than the anime fans who just get off on watching animated schoolgirls, which apparently is a fandom. But, no. I came away from this thinking, okay, magic iPads, teddy bear robots, glorious otherworldly adventures, dimension hopping. This should appeal to me. It really did not. And from one minute to the next, I was just looking at it thinking, eh? And yeah, I never got past that stage with it. And I kind of felt like it was my fault, like it was on me, until I talked to other people and found out that no, actually, it is as dishevelled and incoherent as I think it is. And mostly I just sort of kicked back in my chair and thought, mere days to the defenders.
Yes, which is the 18th.
Is it Friday? Friday it's out.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Wow, that's getting watched in a day.
Oh, yeah, well, for me, I'm just doing 4. I'm going to do 4 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday. Yeah. And because I've got 2 nights out, Saturday and Sunday, I'm out. So, by the way, License to Drive. Are you aware of this film?
Yes, and it's getting a remake. The original was
a gender-flipped remake.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Cool. Okay,
that works.
I'm curious about how they make the gender flip decisions on these things.
So the original, it was the 2 Coreys, wasn't it?
It was the Coreys. The Coreys. The Coreys, Haim and Feldman.
Exactly. Yes.
And a certain Miss Heather Graham. Because that's it, we forget that, don't we?
Oh, man.
A young Miss Heather Graham there, playing a teen love interest.
Dr. Molly Clock.
Dr. Molly Clock. Oh, I think you mean Roller Girl, but,
Oh, yeah.
Felicity Shagwell.
Yes.
Which, I still love her for that movie. I really do. But also, no, she starred in one of my favourite awful erotic thrillers.
Is that the one with Joseph Fiennes?
The Joseph Fiennes one, Killing Me Softly.
Yeah, that is bad.
It's terrible.
That's nearly got as many sex scenes as the Untamed.
It's terrible, and
less
yet
tentacles.
I really want to watch it again. But
like all bad erotic thrillers.
Oh God, yeah, of course. Incidentally, by the way, I apologise. I never got round to watching Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
It's been a week.
What have
you been doing?
Look, I had the chance to watch that or The Untamed. Just imagine how I'm feeling about it. Yeah.
So tonight, watch it.
Tonight I'm watching Hard Ticket to Hawaii. But I thought I'd watch something relevant to the show. Also, I didn't get around to watching The Ghost in the Darkness again, which I was really looking forward to.
Great film. I think I'm going to watch that soon.
Yeah, it's such a good one. But yeah, so License to Drive is getting gender-flipped remake. It was the 2 Coreys, and Heather Graham was a love interest. Am I right in thinking the plot of License to Drive was a boy fails his driving test, and in response just boosts his granddad's beloved car and goes on a joyride for a night?
Right about, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. It's now going to be, we're not going to be Coreys. Are we going to go with... Have we got a female equivalent of 2 Coreys now? I don't want to say Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Schumer, but they are working on a vehicle together. It could be this. So, no, okay.
Well, are you looking for someone that's like teenage age? But I guess.
Well, it'd have to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, is it Bella Thorne and
have we got
Chloe Moretz?
Yeah.
I think it could be that.
Yeah, that works.
It could be that. I don't know who the young hip actresses are now.
Mae Whitman and Micah Monroe.
Oh, no. First of all, that's never happening. That's never happening. Because Mae Whitman's going to claw her face off one of these days. How dare she take a role?
A face-off remake with Micah Monroe and Mae Whitman.
Well, I'd pay good money. I'd fund
take
that.
her face
off. Eyes, nose, skin. It's going off.
Over film.
By the way, thank you so much for introducing me to How Did This Get Made?
Not a problem.
Because that face-off episode is amazing.
It's great. It is great.
I'm trying to think what else. I watched Face Off, Surf Ninjas. Had that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm on the Lawnmower Man at the moment.
I think. Oh, there's another one. Listen to Highlander 2: The Quickening.
Ooh, that's gonna be amazing.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
The weird thing is, John Mosby, who is one of the world's authorities on the Highlander series, now lives in the US.
Huh.
They should have got him on that.
Yeah.
He's actually running the There Can Be Only One Highlander con this year. Yeah. He genuinely is. He is a convention attending Highlander expert now.
Nice.
He goes and presents panels.
Huh.
And the weird part is, I've known Mosby for years.
And he's just doing this, mate.
And I'm like, you've been doing this the whole time. Okay, that's a really random thing. The whole time. More news then. What do we got? Anya Taylor-Joy and Robert Eggers did The Witch.
Oh, yeah, they're doing Nosferatu together.
Remaking Nosferatu. Presumably with Anya Taylor-Joy as Nosferatu, which... I'm kidding. That's not going to happen.
Have you heard that Louis C.K. has shot a film in secret?
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What on earth is that?
It's called I Love You, Daddy.
Okay.
The cast... Chloe Grace Moretz, obviously not a massive fan.
Okay.
Malcatraz, John Malkovich.
No way.
Rose Byrne, Charlie Day, Helen Hunt, Pamela Alden, and CK himself.
Shut up and take my money.
I'm all over that.
Hellboy has got a female lead.
Yeah.
I forget her name, if you want the honest truth. She was the main actress in American Honey.
Is it Sacha Lane?
There you go.
Yes,
Thank you.
knowledge.
Best thing about American Honey, other than Riley Keough, who's just the best thing in anything.
Yeah, Riley Keough is going to be in Logan Lucky, I believe.
She is. Hang on. Right, new story. This is my favourite story of the week. Right, this for me, this is bigger than Bond.
Bigger than Bond.
It involves a film from the 90s that is regarded as one of the biggest train wrecks of that decade. I refer, of course, to The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, I love that film. There was an episode of How Did This Get Made about that as well.
Yeah, there is, yes. Right, of course. The Island of Dr. Moreau is a film based on, of course, the book by H.G. Wells that's been they've tried to make it a few times. I think the most famous version is the Michael York one from the 70s. In the 90s, Australian filmmaker Richard Stanley was given his big break. He was going to make this film with Marlon Brando and with Val Kilmer.
Vally's Kilmers.
And Vally's Kilmers was the star power that was getting it made. And of course, there was loads of behind-the-scenes trouble, and Richard Stanley was fired 3 days into filming and replaced by John Frankenheimer, who quickly lost control of this film, and it went deranged. And it's a film so deranged in its production that Marlon Brando had to be fed his lines through an earpiece. And Val Kilmer wouldn't leave his trailer unless Brando was on set. And apparently
his character wasn't supposed to be killed, but then gets killed off because he was just a nightmare.
And
Ron Perlman plays like a big goat man.
Yes, he does.
Sailor of the law.
Apparently, there was a point at which Val Kilmer just threw a strop, sat on the floor, and refused to get up.
Yep.
Apparently, that's a thing that happened. And no one could find Richard Stanley afterwards. He vanished. He was found living in the nearby rainforest, existing on coconuts and marijuana.
Amazing.
He then found out that about all these production troubles and decided, for his own amusement, to go and have himself inducted as an extra and wander around the set of the film that he'd been sacked from, and he wound up in what can only be described as a moment of brilliant catharsis, being tasked as one of the characters who has to pour petrol all over the set and burn it down. Because obviously it happens in the film. So he got fired for a movie that he then got to actually burn to the ground.
That's amazing.
Right. He's since sort of vanished and disappeared. He retired to France, where he's been making documentaries ever since. However, he's not just been making documentaries. He started crafting a series of French graphic novels based on his version of The Island of Dr. Moreau. A version the studio system then decided they wanted to buy the rights to and make into a movie. Have a guess who they've hired to direct it.
Val Kilmer's.
Certainly not, actually. Richard Stanley. So 23 years later, Richard Stanley is going to direct the movie he was fired from that sent him mad in the rainforest and he then burnt to the ground. Now, that's a movie I have to see. Because how often does that happen?
I gotta get that.
That's a brilliant story, isn't it?
Yeah.
How is that not a movie in its own right?
Yeah, you can make a film just about that guy's experience.
Yeah, it's like that one with the Terry Gilliam and the... Is it Man Who Killed... No, what's the one? Lost in La Mancha. You can make like a Lost in La Mancha kind of thing.
That is happening. It's in the can, isn't it?
Is it done? Is it filmed now?
It's done.
It's done. It's filmed.
Is it Adam Driver and Jonathan Pryce?
I think so. Is it? I think so.
It's so many people.
Well, apparently Bad Boys 3's been dropped, by the way.
Shame.
Ding, ding, ding. Shame.
Shame bell.
But,
yeah, that is a shame. They had what's his chops?
What's his chops?
The guy who did The Grey, forgotten his name.
Joe Carnahan.
Yeah, Joe Carnahan had done a script, and he would have been a really good director on it.
He would have. Have you heard about Double Leo?
Yeah, Leo's going to be Leo.
Leo's going to be Leo, because they didn't put any thought into that, did they? They're like, who do we get to play Leo? Oh, we get Leo. Of course, yeah. So Leonardo da Vinci, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, in a movie based on the upcoming biography by Walter Isaacson.
Oh, not by Leo Isaacson.
Not by Leo Isaacson, no. We need another Leo. That's what we need. But Walter Isaacson, of course, his
book... called Dane DeHaan, but he's a big disappointment.
Exactly. But no, Walter Isaacson's book was the basis for Steve Jobs and the current Jeffrey Rush TV series Genius.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Albert
about
Einstein.
Albert Einstein, yeah. So Jeffrey Rush is really racking up the biopics recently.
Shiny McShine.
He hasn't even changed his hair for the final portrait, by the way.
There's no point.
It's the same one that you see on the posters.
You need to
for
look
Genius.
mad. I'll keep my Einstein hair. Did you know that? I've told you this before, but Albert Brooks' real name is Albert Einstein.
You did tell me that.
Yeah.
And it's so brilliant.
It's crazy.
I love it. I absolutely love that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if did we talk about Tommy Wiseau last week?
We did.
And remember, I had the flu last week, so I have no memory of what we discussed.
You were a bit delirious by the end.
I was a bit delirious.
Yeah, he's given 99% approval of the disaster.
Because of the lighting. I remember you saying it now. I remember you saying
He said the lighting is off.
I have a really hazy recollection of last week's show. This happened when
you weren't there.
Yeah, when I have the flu, I'm basically... it's like a waking coma for me. I feel like that fever dream that James Cameron had that gave him the idea for Terminator. It's like that all the time, except I can present radio shows with you. Yeah.
Or do you? Am I really here?
Don't, because for a minute there, you went all... Like, what's his name from Popstar? Like, maybe I did do it. Maybe I didn't. It's the look on your face.
But I did.
Hunter the Hungry or something like that? Something like that.
The other rapper.
Yeah. The other rapper, yeah, the one who takes Connor for real's attention away from him. But so that's me for this week.
I'm done as well. I mean, hopefully we'll have some more news next week if we've all survived nuclear war or racist attacks.
Yeah, I mean, if North Korea hasn't killed us, or the hate groups. Sorry, the many sides haven't killed us. Many sides. If the many sides haven't killed us all by next week, then
many-faced God.
Yes, the many-faced God. Where do we even begin? But let's not, though, because we have an alarming tendency to do that. In which case, shall we just have a story about Nicolas Cage and his cat?
I think we better have. And his cat.
And his cat. Nicolas Cage and his cat.
I think I know about this.
I love, by the way, his cat's name is Lewis.
Yes,
which made me wonder how you named your cat. Because you have Louis. His is Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
No, mine's after Louis C.K.
Ah, okay. Well, in which case...
Louis C. Cat.
Do you want to cue it?
Here it is, your moment of cat-inspired Nicolas Cage.
Did you ever drink beer in high school?
No, not beer, but I do remember having a bag of mushrooms in my refrigerator. And I remember you mentioned your dog.
Yeah.
I had a cat, and my cat used to sneak into the refrigerator and he would steal the mushrooms. And I said, no, and his name was Lewis. I said, Lewis, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's not right. He ate them voraciously. He just loved them. It was like catnip to him. So I thought, well, what the heck? I better do it with him. And I remember lying in my bed for hours, and Lewis was on the desk across from the bed for hours, staring at each other. Not moving. Occasionally he would go, meow, but he would stare at me, and I had no doubt that he was my brother.